Have you ever noticed how quickly people lose interest in what comes easily? The smartphone you couldn't wait to buy now sits on your desk, taken for granted. The person who pursued you relentlessly suddenly seems less appealing once they've won you over. This isn't coincidence. It's human psychology at work. What Machiavelli understood centuries ago still applies today. People value what they work for, not what's freely given. The moments you struggled to achieve are the ones you treasure most. The relationships you invested in are the ones that endure. Today, I'm going to reveal how this principle can transform your social and professional life. You'll learn why freely offering your attention, approval, and assistance actually diminishes your value in others' eyes. Instead, I'll show you how to create environments where others willingly invest effort to earn your regard. This isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about understanding a fundamental truth. Humans assign value based on effort. When others work to gain your attention or approval, they unconsciously assign it greater worth. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how to position yourself so that others pursue you rather than the other way around. You'll discover how to become the prize that others compete for, not the contestant fighting for recognition. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will completely shift how people respond to you in every area of your life. Number 1. The effort echo chamber. Think about the last time someone gave you something valuable for free. Maybe it was advice, a connection, or even a physical gift. How long did you truly appreciate it? Now compare that to something you worked hard to earn. The difference is striking, isn't it? This gap in perceived value isn't random. It's hardwired into our brains. We're naturally wired to value what we work for and overlook what comes easily. This fundamental principle is the key to making others value your time, attention, and contribution. I discovered this pattern after years of giving freely to others, only to find my advice ignored, my time taken for granted, and my efforts minimized. Everything changed when I started implementing what I call investment loops in my interactions. Here's how it works. When someone approaches you with a request, instead of immediately delivering everything they want, you create a small, achievable step they must take first. Once they complete this initial investment, you acknowledge their effort and provide partial value, but simultaneously establish a slightly larger hurdle for the next level of your assistance. For example, if someone asks for career advice, don't offer a comprehensive plan immediately. Instead, ask them to reflect on specific questions and share their thoughts with you first. When they do this, acknowledge their effort, provide initial insights, and then suggest a slightly more involved step before giving more detailed guidance. What happens next is fascinating. As people progressively invest more effort to gain your attention and assistance, they unconsciously assign greater value to what you offer. Each small investment creates emotional momentum that makes your input increasingly precious to them. This isn't manipulation. It's simply aligning with how humans naturally assign value. By creating these graduated investment loops, you're actually helping others appreciate and implement your contributions more effectively. This brings us to strategy number 1 out of 5, the effort echo chamber. Create progressive investment loops where each interaction requires slightly more effort than the last, and where each contribution is acknowledged but never fully satisfies. This graduated system trains others to associate investing effort in you with positive outcomes, creating a sustainable pattern of mutual value. The beauty of this approach is that it works in every context: professional relationships, friendships, dating, even family dynamics. When properly implemented, others don't feel manipulated. They feel accomplished because earning your attention becomes an achievement rather than a given. Remember, the goal isn't to make things unnecessarily difficult. It's to create just enough friction that your value is never taken for granted. Start small, be consistent, and watch how quickly others begin to prioritize their relationship with you above those that require no investment. Number 2, Structured scarcity. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to have a magnetic pull on others? They're not necessarily the most talkative, the most generous, or even the most helpful, yet somehow they command respect and attention wherever they go. What's their secret? I spent years studying this phenomenon across cultures and industries. What I discovered was surprising. These magnetic individuals weren't practicing traditional charisma techniques. Instead, they were masters of what I call structured scarcity. Let me clarify what this isn't. This isn't about playing hard to get or becoming unavailable. Those tactics often backfire, making you seem disinterested or unreliable. Structured scarcity is much more strategic and authentic. The principle is simple. Clearly define what aspects of your value are freely available and what aspects must be earned through demonstrated commitment. Think of it as creating different tiers of access to your resources, your time, knowledge, connections, and energy. For instance, in professional settings, you might offer general insights in group meetings that benefit everyone. But your detailed problem-solving or strategic planning is reserved for those who have shown they're serious about implementation. You're not withholding value. You're ensuring it goes where it will be most appreciated and utilized. In personal relationships, this might mean being generally friendly and supportive with everyone, but reserving your deeper emotional support and vulnerability for those who consistently show up for you in meaningful ways. The key is establishing what I call value boundaries. Clear, consistent thresholds that others must cross to access different levels of what you offer. These boundaries aren't arbitrary or hidden. They're principled and transparent. This brings us to strategy number 2 out of 5, structured scarcity. Rather than making yourself unavailable, establish clear value boundaries where your most precious resources, time, knowledge, connections, are accessible only through demonstrated commitment. What makes this approach powerful is its fairness. You're not playing favorites or creating artificial obstacles. You're simply requiring an exchange that reflects the true value of what you're offering. This creates a natural filter that ensures your most valuable contributions go to those who will genuinely appreciate and utilize them. Start implementing this today by identifying your unique value offerings and categorizing them into tiers. What can you offer freely to everyone? What should be reserved for those who have demonstrated their seriousness? What represents your highest level of contribution that should only be available to those who have consistently invested in the relationship? By creating this structure, you transform how others perceive and interact with you. You'll find yourself surrounded by people who genuinely value what you offer because they've meaningfully invested to earn it. Number 3, the reverse value proposition. We've all been in situations where we're trying to convince someone of our worth. Maybe it was during a job interview, pitching a client, or even in a social setting where you wanted to make an impression. The natural instinct is to list our capabilities, achievements, and what we can offer. But have you noticed how this approach often falls flat? What if I told you that the most influential people in history flipped this dynamic completely? Instead of telling others what they could do for them, they created situations where others discovered what they could contribute. I call this the reverse value proposition, and it's fundamentally different from traditional approaches to establishing your value. Think about it this way. When you tell someone what you can do for them, you position yourself as the provider and them as the recipient. While this might seem beneficial, it actually creates an imbalance where your value is immediately placed on the table for evaluation. You become the one seeking approval, and they become the judge. But when you create situations where others discover how they can contribute to you, something remarkable happens. The dynamic shifts entirely. They begin to see themselves as potentially valuable to you, which automatically elevates your perceived status and worth. This isn't about being manipulative or creating false scenarios. It's about authentically recognizing that every relationship is a two-way exchange and strategically allowing others to identify and offer their unique contributions first. Here's strategy number 3 out of 5, the reverse value proposition. Instead of telling people what you can do for them, create situations where they discover what they can contribute to you. When someone feels they have unique value to offer you, the relationship dynamic shifts dramatically in your favor. How do you implement this in practice? Start by asking thoughtful questions that allow others to showcase their knowledge or abilities. Express genuine interest in specific areas where they excel. Create natural openings where they can offer assistance without you directly requesting it. For example, instead of telling a potential client all the ways your service can help them, ask questions that lead them to identify problems your service solves. When they reach the conclusion themselves and offer to hire you, they've now invested in the idea that you are valuable to them. In social settings, rather than trying to impress others with your stories or knowledge, express curiosity about their areas of expertise. When they share something useful, show authentic appreciation. This creates a pattern where they feel valued for what they contribute to you, rather than evaluating what you might contribute to them. The beauty of this approach is that it works at every level of interaction. From brief encounters to deep, lasting relationships, allowing others to discover and offer their value first creates a foundation where your worth is assumed rather than questioned. Start practicing this today by resisting the urge to prove your value. Instead, create spaces where others can demonstrate theirs. You'll be amazed at how quickly the relationship dynamic transforms. Number 4. Delayed reciprocity. Have you ever done something nice for someone, only to have them immediately return the favor? How did it make you feel? If you're like most people, you probably felt a brief moment of appreciation, followed by nothing. The exchange was complete, the mental account balanced, and any sense of ongoing connection disappeared. This common pattern reveals a critical insight about human psychology that most people completely miss. When exchanges are immediate and symmetrical, they create closure rather than connection. But when there's a strategic gap between giving and receiving, something magical happens. I discovered this principle after observing the most influential figures across history and business. These individuals rarely rushed to reciprocate favors or assistance. Instead, they created what I call delayed reciprocity, a thoughtful separation between receiving and giving that kept relationships open and dynamic. Let me be clear, this isn't about being ungrateful or failing to reciprocate. It's about understanding that immediate exchanges close psychological loops, while delayed responses keep them open, creating ongoing emotional investment. When someone does something for you and you immediately return the favor in equal measure, the mental ledger reads complete. Both parties walk away with no further obligation or interest, but when you receive graciously, express genuine appreciation, and then wait before reciprocating, ideally in a different but meaningful way, you create an ongoing exchange that builds rather than concludes. This brings us to strategy number 4 out of 5, delayed reciprocity. Break the immediate exchange pattern by intentionally separating your giving from receiving. When someone does something for you, wait before returning the favor, not out of rudeness, but to prevent the transaction feeling complete and therefore forgettable. Here's how to implement this principle effectively. First, when someone offers something valuable, whether it's assistance, information, or a tangible gift, receive it with genuine gratitude. Make sure they know their contribution is truly appreciated. Second, don't immediately rush to even the score. Let some time pass, anywhere from days to weeks, depending on the context and significance of their contribution. Third, when you do reciprocate, do so in a way that's meaningful but different from what they provided. This prevents the exchange from feeling like a simple transaction and instead creates a unique thread in the ongoing fabric of your relationship. For example, if someone shares valuable professional advice with you, don't immediately offer advice in return. Instead, perhaps connect them with someone in your network weeks later, or share a resource that addresses a challenge they mentioned in passing. The power of this approach is that it creates ongoing patterns of exchange rather than isolated transactions. Each person feels valued for their specific contributions, rather than feeling like part of a mechanical, "you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours" arrangement. Begin practicing this today by resisting the urge to immediately balance every exchange. Instead, keep mental notes of what others contribute to you, express genuine appreciation, and look for meaningful opportunities to reciprocate in ways that build rather than close the relationship. Number 5. Attention architecture. Think about the last app that completely captured your attention. Maybe it was a social media platform, a game, or a streaming service. Have you ever wondered why you kept coming back, even when you intended to stop? The answer lies in something behavioral scientists call variable reward schedules, and it's the same principle that makes gambling so addictive. When rewards are completely predictable, interest quickly fades. When they're completely random, people give up. But when rewards follow a pattern that's consistent enough to create hope but variable enough to create uncertainty, engagement skyrockets. The most influential people in history, from political leaders to business moguls, intuitively understood this principle and applied it to how they distributed their attention and approval. They created what I call attention architecture, deliberately designed patterns of engagement that maximize others' investment and interest. This isn't about being manipulative or insincere. It's about understanding that constant, predictable approval actually diminishes in value over time, while thoughtfully varied responses create sustainable engagement. Here's strategy number 5 out of 5. Attention architecture. Design your interactions so others experience intermittent positive reinforcement rather than consistent approval. Research shows variable reward schedules create stronger behavioral patterns than predictable ones. Apply this by being genuinely enthusiastic about others' efforts sometimes, while maintaining a thoughtful reserve at others. Let me illustrate how this works in practice. When someone consistently performs well, most people fall into one of two traps, either providing the same level of acknowledgement every time, which quickly becomes expected and therefore devalued, or acknowledging only exceptional performance, which can create discouragement when normal effort goes unrecognized. Instead, create an attention pattern where your responses vary in timing, intensity, and form. Sometimes respond with immediate enthusiasm. Other times, offer thoughtful reflection after some delay. Occasionally, simply acknowledge with calm appreciation. The key is that your responses should always be authentic, never fake enthusiasm or withhold deserved recognition. The variation should come from expressing different genuine reactions, not manufacturing false ones. For example, when a colleague consistently delivers good work, don't fall into a routine of saying, "Great job," every time. Instead, sometimes dive deep into what specifically impressed you. Other times, simply acknowledge receipt with appreciation. Occasionally, connect their work to larger goals or values. In personal relationships, this means avoiding the trap of responding to others in completely predictable ways. Sometimes be playfully engaged, sometimes thoughtfully reserved, sometimes deeply present, but always authentic. What makes this approach powerful is that it aligns with how humans naturally value experiences. Things that follow completely predictable patterns quickly become background noise in our lives, while experiences with the right balance of pattern and unpredictability command ongoing attention and interest. Start implementing this today by becoming more conscious of your response patterns. Are you completely predictable in how you distribute attention and approval? If so, introduce authentic variation that better reflects the natural rhythm of genuine human engagement. As we wrap up, let's reflect on what we've learned about the emotional investment strategy. These 5 principles, the effort echo chamber, structured scarcity, the reverse value proposition, delayed reciprocity, and attention architecture, are not just tactical approaches. They represent a fundamental shift in how you position yourself in relationships. Remember, this isn't about manipulation. It's about aligning with how humans naturally assign value and forming connections that are sustainable and meaningful. When implemented with authenticity, these strategies create environments where your contributions are genuinely appreciated rather than taken for granted. Start small. Choose one principle to practice this week. Notice how differently people respond when they've invested in earning your attention rather than expecting it freely. As Machiavelli understood centuries ago, people cherish what they work for, including your time, knowledge, and regard. Thank you for investing your attention in this video. The fact that you've stayed to the end suggests you understand the value of strategic emotional investment. Now it's time to put these principles into action and watch how they transform your personal and professional relationships.